52 years ago, the world celebrated its first Earth Day. Almost 200 countries and 1 billion people later, this annual event welcomes changes of seasons and awareness for all things given to us by Earth. This is Earth Day 2022 on MavRadio.fm. Here are your hosts, Jack McGonigal, Jaden Cates, and Nate Sweats.
Welcome to Mav Radio's 10th annual Earth Day special. My name's Nathan Sweats, one of your hosts, joined along with our other hosts, Jaden Cates and Jack McGonigal. How are you guys doing today?
I'm awesome. I'm looking forward to it. It's always a special event that Mav Radio puts on, and I'm excited and honored to be a part of it for the first time.
Yeah, it's very exciting. What in the world does Earth Day mean to you guys? I can say, personally, I'm a big fan of nature. I love being able to be in nature, see the birds and everything fly around. To commemorate a day for humans, to put it to Earth Day is a very special thing. What does Earth Day mean to you, Jack?
Yeah, Earth Day is just taking care of our beautiful planet. Earth Day is where we live. It's just a very special day, keeping this planet beautiful for us.
Yeah, do you guys have any stories, if over time, that you've grown up with regarding the earth or nature being the beauty of itself? Jack, on you?
I just love to be outside. I love nature, exploring new places, seeing parts of our earth that I haven't seen before means a lot to me. And yeah, being outside and even walking in today, I just noticed the air was so fresh. It was just special.
Absolutely, and what a special day it is. Any Earth Day special stories that I have, I mean, I lived in an apartment one time for a year, and in the nature, in the trees, I lived with the birds, had owls stopping by the deck and saying good day. The grass turns green here in the heartland. It's a beautiful day. The fog is around, and the grass is turning green. We're getting the rain in, and what a beautiful day for Earth Day. We've got an amazing lineup of stories from our amazing reporters from Mav Radio students, and we're very excited to share them with you. Coming up next, we're going to come back after a preview, and you're going to learn about Starlink, which is a nice satellite system sharing more internet with the Earth. Coming up next on MavRadio.fm.
Can you hear that? That's the sound of nature. Tune in to MavRadio.fm for an exclusive Earth Day broadcast. It's time to embrace the nature around us.
The Earth is a wonderful, beautiful place, from the molten center to the outer reaches of the atmosphere. It's where we live, and what we create on it can even leave the planet. The Internet is a relatively recent invention, created in 1969. Despite this, it took off astronomically to the point that the Internet is in most homes, especially in America. Unfortunately, the quality and availability for Internet service is not constant throughout the state, much less the country. Internet in rural or developing areas can be spotty at best and non-existent at worst.
We're not like we're in the sticks. We're a mile outside of city limits of Lincoln, Nebraska, so it shouldn't be that hard to get internet service out there. But we're in a part of Lincoln that is growing. It's just not growing fast enough.
Dr. Tony Morvetz, a veterinarian who practices just outside of Lincoln, says,
It's probably taken years off of my personal life just from the frustrations of trying to manage a business without a critical cog in the business like internet. It saps up my free time trying to find viable alternatives when it's down. You know, we have to break out the old credit card machine and try to fire up the landline, and it's a mess.
Dr. Morvetz deals with bad internet constantly. He needs network access in order to process credit or debit transactions, and without those transactions, his business would not be able to stay open. This also impacts the quality of service for the pet owners, since they must wait until the signal is up in order to pay their medical bill. In trying to fix his internet issues, Dr. Morvetz has tried many solutions.
Lately, we've been using a hotspot through cellular technology, which has been adequate. but even that has not been 100% reliable. But it's taken a toll on my personal time, just because I'm spending so much time trying to tie loose ends and make patches where there are no patches to make.
Since so many methods haven't worked, a potential solution to Dr. Morvetz's internet problem is Starlink. Frank Voschek, head engineer for UNO-TV, describes the service.
It's kind of an up-and-coming satellite delivered system. Of course, Elon Musk is behind it, and he is somebody that has a way of getting these things done, and he is getting this done.
Starlink is a futuristic and ambitious solution to a common problem, not just because it launches satellites into orbit to bounce internet signals, but because of the sheer number and planned worldwide coverage. Voschek says,
I think they have something like 2,000 satellites up in low Earth orbit right now, and they're probably going to need at least 10,000 to make it global. I know Musk has plans for something like 40,000 of them.
According to the Nebraska Information Technology Commission, as many as 1 in 10 rural Nebraskans report significant limitations from their internet service. As our society continues to develop, we create new devices and services, and new problems to go with. Internet is just one more in a string of new problems. As comedian Dave Chappelle once said, and has since been made famous by memes around the world, modern problems require modern solutions. Thankfully for Nebraskans, Starlink can provide a modern solution to their problem. Dr. Morvetz says,
The concept, the idea is brilliant. Accessibility becomes a non-issue outside of the weather, and I mean, at this point, I'm willing to try anything.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Wyatt Morvetz.
All right, and Wyatt Morvetz. There you go. Starlink is still in beta testing, but if you would like to try it out and be a beta tester, you can sign up through their website to be sent an opportunity to purchase a receiver. These receivers work anywhere, and you can see them in the sky, including on your own UNO campus.
Our reporter Wyatt Morvetz joins us there now. Hi, Wyatt. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jade?
I'm great. So my first question for you is, would someone in Omaha need to use this Starlink service?
Actually, no. Most people in Omaha have great access to pretty stable internet. It's more for people who are, say, on the outskirts of town, in developing areas, or it would help most Omahans who would want to go visit those newly developing businesses or relatives.
So next question, how fast is Starlink?
Starlink actually ranges between 80 megabytes per second to 130 megabytes per second for a download speed. And for an upload speed, it sits around 25 megabytes per second, which is pretty fast.
So why should I not use another satellite internet provider?
Other satellite internet providers, they aren't continuing to develop their services. They're pretty stuck at some pretty slow speeds for download and upload, and these days you need that fast internet to do pretty much anything.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today, Wyatt. Up next we have Jerome discussing socioeconomic levels and how people have enjoyed Earth over many decades of time.
Now that I think about it, I'm probably getting a bit over my head. Coming out to the jungle when all I need is a cool liner? You're listening to Earth Day 2022 on MavRadio.
To the women who've paved the way.
To the women who paved the way.
You showed us we can be comfortable to be ourselves.
Comfortable to be ourselves.
Comfortable to be ourselves.
It doesn't always cut it just to do the same job that a man would do in that position, because we as women are judged differently.
That we can achieve anything we set our minds to.
Anything
we set our minds to.
Women are encouraged more. Women can see themselves in positions that they hadn't in the past, and there's a lot more role models.
Nebraska's finest, strongest, and most brilliant women.
International Women's Day means the whole world.
We honor you. Women's History Month 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Pauline Dulang, Social Media and Marketing Director with MavRadio. I'm so happy to be part of this family because opportunity and reward grows where you water it. Power with MavRadio.fm.
People are becoming more aware of the wealth gap and how it affects life and activities. Engaging with the earth is no different. MavRadio reporter Jerome Bradford explores how socioeconomic levels have factored into how people enjoy our planet over the decades. We also look at some solutions that could help humanity and the planet.
Even as early as the Renaissance, the wealth gap showed the different contexts in the way different classes interacted with nature and the planet. According to Pew Research, the wealth gap in America is getting wider between classes. This is because household incomes are decreasing since the recession of 2009. This is essentially causes the middle class to disappear. People are working more and have little free time. Dr. Robert Darcy studies early British literature at UNO. He says the pandemic also had a nearly immeasurable effect on the planet. However, people on higher socioeconomic level were able to stay inside or retreat to the country or secluded parts of nature.
So the Black Plague was part of, the European reality. And so the illnesses, they would shut down the theater, for example, and they would shut down public spaces of commerce, for example, like the marketplace. And what's interesting is that the aristocrats would simply go off to their country home.
Darcy says the current generation is fighting to tackle wealth inequality, and also climate change. Gen Xers are known to have a cynicism for the government and other authority, but that isn't passed along to millennials and Gen Z. Newer generations are changing the rules from the inside out. They want to get in government and change the system from within.
For me to age to where I am now, to realize how much the world does change from generation to generation and how much the conversation changes.
There has also been a resurgence of getting back to nature through social media. Influencers are highlighting the perks of nature through photos and videos posted on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. However, this can be deceptive. Darcy says the context of how much goes into living off the land for those on the social economic lower class is left out. These movements reach their height through...
It's a stylized fantasy. It's not reality. Yeah.
Left out. These movements reached their height through a drive called cottagecore. An underlining aesthetic of this movement was to drop out and leave modern society behind and get back to nature. A couple of narratives of the cottagecore movement were to take a mental break from the work grind mentality we have and even avoid COVID-19. Those ideas were weaved through their stories. During the pandemic, people that worked in service jobs were forced to engage with the public. They couldn't avoid interaction or drop out of the day-to-day grind. Living off the land or traditional farming offers solutions to the world problems. Stephen Swanson says he grew up on a farm in Nebraska and knows firsthand changes big corporations have had on farmers.
And the concept of canning and storing your food or how to store food, or even just plant simple crops on their patio. They can do tomatoes, cucumbers, a plethora of herbs. There are so many ways that we can be.
Cottagecore doesn't get to the essential of what it's truly like to live off the land. Organic growing and canning in 2022 steers far from the way our great-grandparents lived. There was no carry-out or recycle bags. There were no cropped pictures or glamorous shots either that often appear on social media today.
Growing up with that attitude of using everything, using all parts of the animal. When we hunted, we utilized the after crop to till it under to help the nutrients grow for the next crop.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Jerome Bradford.
Planet Earth has had a great amount of beauty and provides humanity with a great deal of pleasure. Practices of past generations in this generation may provide the energy to save the planet and tackle greater socioeconomic challenges.
Our reporter, Jerome Bradford, joins us live from Elmwood Park now. Jerome, how in the world are you?
I am doing good on this great day. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Happy Earth Day, Jerome. What impact has technology had on fighting some of today's social problems to you?
Well, it's highlighted the issues and allowed for more groups to form cohesively and target direct problems, and also allow us to get in touch with politicians on maybe a broader scale.
Great. And how would you suggest parents getting their kids into connecting with nature?
I would say start with their interests. Find out if your child likes farming, maybe beekeeping, or even an outdoor sport, like tennis or golf.
Yeah, and why is it important for everyone to connect with nature?
It helps us refresh, recharge. We spend so much time in a tech world that it's important for us not to lose that connection with nature itself.
Great. Thank you, Jerome, and happy Earth Day to you.
Happy Earth Day, guys.
As residents in Nebraska begin planting gardens and crops for the year, we must remember the unseen heroes of agriculture in our state. Reporter Addison Parr shows us how the honeybee is creating quite the buzz.
Growing up, local amateur beekeeper Colin Tillotson always knew he loved bugs.
Well, I've always been interested in bugs, but when I really became fascinated in bees is when I did the entomology merit badge in my Boy Scout troop.
Today, he's using his love of insects to save the planet.
And after watching a bunch of YouTube videos and finding out how to do it myself, I decided maybe I should start my own hive.
And Colin isn't the only amateur that felt drawn to saving the bees. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, there are about 212,000 beekeepers in the United States, with most falling into the category of hobbyist or part-time beekeeper. Luke Norris, the apiary manager at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln's Bee Lab, explains the role of the beekeeper cannot be overstated.
Bees would be considered livestock, and so they really do need to be managed as livestock. They're actually, even though they are, in the United States, they're not completely naturalized to where, because of, I think partially due to pests, it's hard for them to actually be able to do well on their own.
Bee populations across the nation have continued to decline over the past decade, to the extent that bumblebees were added to the endangered species list in 2017. Colin explains the causes of these declines are not fully understood, but there are likely dangers.
Things like habitat and biodiversity loss and climate change.
Bees serve a key role in an ecosystem and in our lives. These hardworking insects produce 6 hive products: honey, pollen, royal jelly, beeswax, propolis, and venom. All products are collected and used by people for various nutritional and medicinal purposes. Bees are big money makers for U.S. agriculture. The National Agriculture Statistics Service found in 2019 that the United States honey production totaled over 157 million pounds. While the bee is known for its production, Luke explains that we rely on them for so much more.
Essentially, a third of our produce, is pollinated by bees.
Nebraska is home to approximately 20 different species of bumblebees, all which play a critical role in sustaining the health of our environment. The pollination that bees provide helps to maintain ecological balance in natural and urban areas, and also contributes to the successful harvests in our rural areas.
Bees are so vital to our ecosystems.
While we may not all be able to support a beehive in our backyard, Luke explains there are small steps we can take to make our yards more bee-friendly.
Plant more pollinator plants. Providing more forage for the bees is a huge need.
Flowers like lavender, milkweed, and columbine are all great additions to your garden to attract pollinating insects. Along with planting flowers, we must avoid the use of harsh pesticides. Areas like parks, wildlife reserves, and our backyards should act as a safe haven for bees. Pesticides that contain neonicotinoids kill bees, so they have no place in our urban landscapes or backyards.
You don't have to be a beekeeper to do, you can just help bees.
Nebraskans must understand the vital role that bees play in our state. And with a few simple actions, we can protect our ecosystems and our agriculture. All we have to do is #SaveTheBee. For MavRadio, I'm Addison Parr.
To support the University of Nebraska at Lincoln's Bee Lab and learn more about their work, you can visit their Facebook page. From there, you can donate directly to bee research, purchase honey, or even sign up for a beekeeping workshop.
Our reporter Addison Parr joins us at a local hive now. Addison, are Omaha residents allowed to become beekeepers?
Yeah, they are. So right now in Omaha, you can take care of your own hive as long as it's on private property. You can apply for a permit online and get started with any size hive that you want.
How can residents start that process?
So essentially there's a form online on the Omaha City website. Once you go there, apply for your permit, you can automatically get ready essentially to start your own hive. And then it's just from there, getting your own set of bees, meeting up with some other beekeepers, and getting ready for the next season.
Do you have any advice for amateur beekeepers?
Yeah, I would tell you to get connected with other beekeepers. Everything I learned from the individuals I met with was all about beekeeping is about helping and learning from each other. So you can join local groups like the Omaha Bee Club or take classes and workshops from places like UNL's Bee Lab to just really get started with your knowledge.
For any of us that aren't ready to become beekeepers, how can we still do our part?
I would just tell you to always be conscious of your carbon footprint on this planet. Make sure to never use pesticides on places like your yards or your gardens. I know it's tempting, but to get that pollination happening, so you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in your yard.
24 hours a day, your college radio. MavRadio.fm.
We are back. Music has been considered a universal language, bridging the gap between people with different lives, cultures, and experiences. It has been a way to connect and come together, but its potential power goes beyond that. The School of Music at the University of Nebraska at Omaha has always used music to heal. Reporter Alex Crooks informs us on how this is accomplished.
Auditory stimuli have been known to decrease heart rate and improve one's mood. In addition, music has been used to decrease pain and alleviate anxiety. And the School of Music used their talents to provide live music at various health facilities through a program called Sound Health.
There's so many people, huge teams of personnel and staff who are enhancing and contributing to the environment and care in many different ways. And so as an artist, how can I contribute to that? How can my students contribute to that?
That was the founder of Sound Health, Dr. Mary Perkinson. Dr. Perkinson created the program back in 2010 at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And in 2014, she became a faculty member for the University of Nebraska at Omaha, introducing Sound Health as a pilot program in the spring of 2015. The program's intentions are to bridge the gap between music and medicine, providing patients with the opportunity to relax and enjoy live music. The reaction has been overwhelmingly positive.
It was so clear, as soon as he was aware of what was happening, he just had this huge smile on his face.
Prior to the pandemic, Sound Health would fill healthcare facilities with music as patients and family members passed by. Vocalists and instrumentalists alike would perform to provide some alleviation through difficult times. While Sound Health has yet to go back to live music, the program still found ways to persevere. Throughout the pandemic, Dr. Perkinson chose to send small videos through the Healing Arts program at UNMC. While the method of delivery was different, Dr. Perkinson believes the message is the same.
It brings the same kind of overall feeling to patients and staff, which is that people care, that you are here, and we're doing what we can to, make your day a little better.
Through surveys and visual feedback, it is clear that Sound Health is providing patients and staff some positivity through difficult times. And they aren't the only ones getting something from the experience.
I can kind of see the smile on their faces, and I can see them relax and just kind of have a good time and get away from whatever it is that they're dealing with at the time.
A senior music education major, Emily Jackson, is one of many students in the School of Music who have participated in Sound Health. Having been involved with music since a young age, Jackson is very familiar with music's healing properties. For many students, Sound Health is an opportunity to perform without the stress one would have with a concert, alongside a relaxed environment, allowing students to give back to the Omaha community.
We're not just staying in our bubble of concerts at the School of Music. We're actually going and we're outreaching and we're affecting the community around us.
Sound Health's benefits among every participant and recipient is clear. Leaders of the program hope to return to providing live music for patients and staff soon. For MavRadio, I'm Alex Crooks.
The power of music doesn't only connect us with the world, but it provides healing, which is astounding. The School of Music here at the University of Nebraska at Omaha is doing their part to help the community in the way they know best.
We now go to Alex Crooks, who is on campus at the School of Music building. Hi, Alex.
Hey there.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Great. How can music have such a big impact on one's health?
Yeah, so there's been studies, benefits of music. It can increase blood pressure. It increases serotonin levels. A lot of it, especially with Sound Health, has to do with the mental health, managing your stress and mood. We've all listened to those songs that can soothe and sort of calm us down.
And what has your experience been with Sound Health?
Yeah, so I've participated in Sound Health a couple times, both with the choir and the opera. And
Coffee, the rushing winds of productivity come to
learn about the rest of people's stuff.
Has Sound Health done any type of community engagement outside of UNO and the healthcare facilities?
So Sound Health sticks to performances in the healthcare facilities, but they've reached outside of UNO. So usually it's just our students, but there was a time in 2018 that they paired up with the Lower North High School, and they performed at the Durham Outpatient Center.
Tune in to MavRadio's award-winning Earth Day program, featuring our team of reporters celebrating the beauty of our planet and sharing tips on ways you can help contribute towards keeping our environment clean. Come listen to our most listened to radio program, exclusively on MavRadio.
Coffee, the rushing winds of productivity come to a screeching halt for lattes and espressos. But what if that cup of joe isn't as beneficial as everyone might think? Reporter Josue Garcia takes us inside the Basket is Full Incorporated, a food processing plant in Lincoln, Nebraska, looking to change just that.
There are healthy alternatives to everyday foods, and bringing these foods into the mainstream has been the Basket is Full's mission since 2015.
Basket is Full is actually just 6 years old this year, and so we're just beginning to bring out things, whether it be food products, beverages, within the Basket is Full.
Their first natural product is the Per Java brand, which harvests natural coffee from their very own coffee farms in Honduras, Ethiopia, and Rwanda. Randy Olson, Vice President of Operations, says these beans are incredibly unique.
Everything we use is an heirloom plant, an heirloom item. They are not GMO. They are not hybridized. They aren't touched by human hands. And the only thing sprayed on them at the most might be some water.
Contrary to popular belief, coffee beans are actually seeds. They grow from a red-orange coffee plant often found in tropical climates ranging from South America to the Middle East. Heirloom seeds come from open pollinated plants that pass on their healthiest characteristics to future plants, which prove to produce better taste and flavor.
A lot of your coffees, people say it's bitter, it's acidic, or whatever. A lot of that comes from the roasting of beans. You can get a lot of your bitterness and acidic taste from that roasting.
Once harvested, the green coffee beans are imported into the facility in Lincoln. Processing managers look through each load and go through a careful process to roast them correctly to maintain their nutrients.
When coffee is roasted, they say that there are 2 cracks that a coffee bean will go through. And that is timed, that is recorded, so everything is done. We microbrew our coffees.
Negative effects of coffee can often be seen in individuals who've built a tolerance. Some effects may include jitterness, increased anxiety, and high blood pressure.
Coffee eventually stopped working. I would drink coffee every day, and it came to the point where it just wasn't enough. I noticed that I was actually becoming less focused, and my heart would race, more than usual. My heart had never done that before.
While some may not taste a difference, Jesse Ramirez, a student at Northeast Community College, can feel the difference in his daily intake.
I went ahead and tried it, and when I did, I was super surprised that I didn't get tired as easy, With Java, it was totally different.
Ramirez isn't the only one. Olson says he also feels its health benefits despite health issues. Olson and Ramirez are only two of the many who have similar experiences with the Basket is Full's products, ranging from Java coffee to their brand of apricots and walnuts. But the company is helping in more ways than just providing whole foods.
Java Tops is something, a program within the company.
Their program, Java Tops, is a high school scholarship program where students open a savings account to fund their education. After they graduate, the company will match their amount to pay for college. The Per Java brand is available in over 18 Hy-Vee stores ranging from Colorado to Iowa, including 10 different locations in the Omaha area. This is Josue Garcia for MavRadio.fm.
As they plan to expand within the next few years, the basket is full and on the right track to bring us a healthier, tastier morning boost.
Now we go to Josue Garcia, who joins us live. Josue, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy Earth Day, Josue. We've got a couple questions for you. How does the way these beans are grown change the way they taste?
Yeah, so there's several differences in where they're grown. So they're grown in very unique places specific to where they're grounded from. So the Basket is Full has Rwanda brand, they also have an Ethiopia brand and a Guatemala brand and a Honduras brand. So they're grown in very remote places, so their nutrients are a lot richer. And because of the specific way they're grown, they're roasted a very specific way. So this actually keeps a lot of the nutrients. It keeps a lot of the unprocessed caffeine. A lot of the coffee you get now is very processed, so it's processed caffeine and additives. But these are very natural, so you'll feel the energy without feeling any of the jitterness, any of the prolonged tiredness after it. It's actually just overall really good for your immune system.
Great, thank you, Josue. And on the flip side of that, what are some negative effects that we see in everyday coffee?
Yeah, so like the report said there, we see a lot of either jitterness or some people having their hearts racing and that kind of thing. A study actually said that it actually could be a certain additive to stress rather than a fixer-upper for the issue. But those are just some things, and a lot of what the Per Java brand offers counteracts a lot of that.
Well, thank you, Josue. Lastly, is where can they find Pure Java coffee, the naturally grown coffee?
You got it. So I'm actually currently drinking the Rwanda coffee, and this one, as well as the Honduras and Ethiopia brand, are sold at Hy-Vees all around Omaha. But their online store at www.perjava.com actually offers 15 more coffees from countries the world over, as well as walnut apricot bags and other seeds on their website.
All right, thank you, Josue. And when we come back, we'll see what reporter Ben Geezer has dug up at Glacier Creek Preserve. Happy Earth Day from MavRadio.fm.
Don't go away. The most listened to program will return. Learn more about our planet and how to protect the environment. Earth Day 2022 on MavRadio.fm.
It may look like a construction site, maybe even more of a sandbox, but it's actually a classroom available for UNO students this summer. Reporter Ben Geezer is out in the fields of Glacier Creek Preserve to give us a taste of this archaeological experience students are sure to dig.
Glacier Creek Preserve in Bennington, Nebraska. 525 acres of restored tallgrass prairie. The home to hundreds of species of vegetation and wildlife. A haven for nature lovers and researchers alike. However, when UNO undergraduate student Caitlin Shields first visited the preserve during the summer of 2021, she says she would have preferred to keep away from the countryside.
I'm not a person who likes bugs and dirt and the outdoors. I would never go camping.
Yet, Caitlin found herself waking up early that summer, catching a ride down a gravel road in a pickup truck, and trekking uphill among crops and critters to begin her schoolwork,
excavating a site of Native American occupation dating back to around 1280 AD. This was her and her classmates' assignment for Dr. Alan Osborne's Archaeological Field Methods course. 3 days a week, 6 hours a day, for 6 weeks from late May to early July. Caitlin did not picture herself pitching a tent for shade in cornfields or shuffling through layers of soil 1 centimeter at a time. But soon she discovered both artifacts from the past and a new direction for her future.
Yeah, I want to be an archaeologist now. I'm almost done with my major for library science, and no hate towards them, but archaeology hit something in me. Being out there just lit a fire under me, and now that's what I want to do.
Archaeological Field Methods is an upper-level anthropology course offered at UNO typically during its summer semester. It teaches students lessons about scientific archaeology. Lessons, participants say, are beneficial for both aspiring archaeologists and any student curious about the unique opportunity of hands-on research. During the 6 weeks, students learn skills like surveying, GPS-based mapping, and methods for excavating both artifacts, such as stone tools and pottery shards, and ecofacts, such as animal remains. Yet, the skills practiced throughout the course can find themselves useful to the world outside a 1 meter by 1 meter excavation square. Tiffany Hagdahl, a former TA for Archaeological Field Methods and a current graduate student of biology at UNO, says the class encourages students to work together and rethink how they look at their surroundings. And while they may wear old jeans instead of lab coats, they also get a taste of what goes on in scientific research.
Even if, say you aren't a sciencey person, you're not majoring in science other than your anthropology minor, but it does give you a glimpse into what it is like to be a scientist and to how that whole process kind of works. So I think that definitely helped me want to pursue a career in science and to see myself as a woman in STEM, definitely.
Originally started in 2016, the field school at Glacier Creek Preserve has led to the development of hypotheses attempting to explain the occurrence of the site, to understand the people of the period. Dr. Alan Osborne says that while students are working with Nebraska's past, they're also developing ways to interpret and appreciate the world in the present.
But archaeology is more than just finding stuff. It's about using what we find to learn even more, about the world.
And if he can get students to think critically and care about dirt, Dr. Osborne says he hopes they will also think critically and care about current issues like climate change, an issue even our ancestors were dealing with 1,000 years ago, as seen in evidence uncovered by students at the dig site.
It's like they were here during some really hard times. Mega droughts, like we're seeing in California today. And that's what we're kind of monitoring.
Archaeological Field Methods give students the ability to explore their environments in the present, analyze evidence from the past, and develop new ways of thinking to figure out problems in the future. It's a class of dirt, shovels, and an occasional wildlife encounter. And Caitlin says she's fully on board with this. She signed up to take the course again this summer.
You will learn so many amazing things. You'll have amazing opportunities, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you can do when you're this young to go out and do something real. We found real things out there. I've touched real history. So take the opportunity if you get it. It's an amazing chance.
For MavRadio, I'm Ben Gieser.
Glacier Creek Preserve is open to the public for daytime hiking 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunset, making it a perfect place to appreciate the nature of Nebraska. But if wanting to get their hands dirty in collecting, recording, and plotting affairs to uncover Nebraska's past, UNO students should sign up for Archaeological Field Methods next summer or reach out to Dr. Alan Osborne.
We now turn to reporter Ben Gieser, who is currently present at the preserve. Ben, what kind of artifacts have students uncovered at the site?
Well, they should not be expecting a city of gold, that's for sure, at least right now. They're still kind of excavating the site, but if anything, they'll likely find some arrowheads, a few pottery shards, some plates from stone tools, just, useful stuff that they used during that time.
Why might these suggest climate change?
Well, just when you find a lot of stuff, that usually indicates that, according to Dr. Osborne, that there's it's a very prosperous time. They have a lot of stuff, whereas you don't find a lot of stuff immediately, or you're not, it's mostly just finding worn down tools, a few flakes here and there. it usually indicates that they're like using everything to the last drop. They don't want to waste anything, and that usually indicates that they're very in harsh times, like such as mega droughts.
What experience do students need before taking such a course?
Right now, all they have to take is Intro to Anthropology. So if they just want to knock out a Gen Ed and then are interested in coming out here into beautiful Glacier Creek Preserve, have a great hands-on experience, then that's all they need. Just take that class.
All right, thanks, Ben.
No problem.
After this, we take a look at the Class A defending state champion Millard South baseball team with Joey Kirkle.
MavRadio.fm, America's best college radio. Only on 90.7 HD2 Omaha.
Welcome to the 10th annual Earth Day special here with MavRadio.fm. Up next, we have a high school baseball story. In high school baseball, we always see the top schools doing whatever they can to claim the state championship that they might feel is rightfully theirs, right? For Millard South, this season is about them fighting to keep that trophy that they took last season. Reporter Joey Kirkle discusses the journey that the Patriots are on and the mindset they're approaching this season.
In the world of sports, we've all heard the story about the team that came up just short of a championship and is fighting harder to redeem themselves. But what about the team that's victorious? How do they respond after reaching the top?
Everyone's motivated, getting ready for the season. I mean, we've been putting a lot of work in.
That's what Braden Cannon, senior pitcher and outfielder for Millard South Baseball, had to say about his team. Last spring, the Millard South Patriots won their first state championship in 41 years with a 3-1 victory over Millard West. With the high expectations placed on a championship team, Coach Greg Geary acknowledges the pressure that the players might be feeling.
I think there's always a certain level of pressure that they're going to put on themselves, having won the last year, those guys that are coming back.
Cannon agreed with what his coach said, while also mentioning their preparedness.
There definitely is a little bit of pressure, but we know we're going to get everyone's best, so we just got to come ready to play every game.
While the team may be feeling the pressure, Coach Geary knows that his team's ready for the new season.
They've done a great job. They've worked really hard at this point, and we're excited to see where this thing goes.
The Patriots have struggled with off-season roster turnover, having multiple players from the championship team graduate and 2 pitchers get hurt during the preseason. With these losses to the roster, the Patriots will need help from their younger players stepping up into bigger roles.
Our team is definitely younger than last year's team. We don't have that much experience. We're going to need some of the younger dudes to step up. They don't have that much varsity experience yet, but once we get to the middle of the season, things will start rolling. They'll be comfortable.
Regardless of the adversity they may be facing, this team has the same goal in mind.
Coming off the state title, we're just even more hungry. We want to repeat, so everyone's ready to go and can't wait to get it started.
Coach Geary feels the same way, but in a much more direct manner.
We have the same expectations every year. Our goal each year is to win a state championship.
While many reigning champions may have their eyes locked on the state championship, the Patriots have not lost their focus. Their mindset is about working hard and taking their season one game at a time.
For us, it's about the process. It's about going out every day, putting your work in, putting your time in, go out and compete, do the best you can, go out with a good attitude, good effort. And that's all our expectations are, and what happens at the end happens.
For Millard South, they see the state tournament as a big stage, but nothing they aren't used to. While last year may have been their first championship in 41 years, they've become accustomed to deep tournament runs.
I think 4 of the last 7 or 8 years we finished runner-up, so we've been to that point where it's been close, but you just we always say, let's just keep getting there, and if the more times you get there, the more used to it you get.
The more experienced players in the team are aware of the challenges at hand, and they know exactly what they need to do to be ready.
We're definitely going to have to play every game hard because our schedule is not easy, and we got a lot of tough games and tournaments, and we're going to have to overcome some adversity, and the younger kids are there, they're going to have to grow, and us older guys, we're going to have to show them the way.
Millard South will look to use their preparedness and strong mindset to help them in their journey to defend their state title. For MavRadio, I'm Joey Kirkle.
The Millard South Patriots baseball season is currently underway with the state championship being held in May. The tournament.
Reporter Joey Kirkle joins us now from outside Millard South Baseball Complex. Joey, how are the Patriots doing so far in 2022?
So far, they've had a great start to the season. They're currently sporting a 14-5 record. They did lose their last game, but they have an opportunity to get back in the win column tonight. They go on the road and take on Fremont.
Has Millard South had any standout players so far this year?
Yeah, with this great start to the season, it's obviously a team effort, everyone contributing equally, but they have had two standout players in their offense. Senior Braden Sweet, an Iowa Western commit, is batting .500 right now and has played in every game. And then junior Cam Kojal, a commit to Vanderbilt, is right now batting .460. So while everyone's been contributing to the team, the two of those have been the main focal point in the Patriot offense.
Are the Patriots in good shape to contend for another state title?
Right now, yeah, things are looking very good for Millard South. They're ranked second in the state, only behind Creighton Prep. But if what Braden Cannon said is true, these younger players are going to start to feel more comfortable. They're going to get more relaxed, and this team is really going to hit their stride come tournament time. So they are definitely looking like one of the most dangerous teams in Class A baseball.
All right, thanks, Joey.
COVID-19 turned every game into a home game. No visitors for anyone. With mandates being struck out across the metro area, reporter Max Garvey is saying, "Take me out to the ball game, take Omaha back outside."
For the past 2 years, COVID-19 quarantines kept everyone in their clubhouses. Some folks are still skeptical about gathering in public after its hysteria. However, the game of baseball is proving to ease minds by allowing citizens to enjoy the great American pastime outdoors again. Omaha native Dr. Thomas Spoonhour has loved the game for almost 70 years. It's the one thing that makes him feel like a kid again.
Well, I played, of course, pee-wee ball way back when, and that was, every boy loves that kind of thing. And it's always been fun to go to pro games throughout the years at different ballparks.
Dr. Spoonhour was restless while being forced to stay at home during the pandemic. Watching the same old movies and reading the same tired books wasn't cutting it for him.
Very limited contact with friends or activities.
Coronavirus not only shut down public gatherings, but it kept ball players off the field as well. Numerous college teams across the country were forced to cancel games or even end their season short. Tal Anderson Field, new home of the UNO Mavericks baseball team, kicked off its inaugural 2021 season in lackluster fashion, as mask mandates and similar social protocols influenced fans to avoid such activity. Fast forward to now. Spectator sporting events are back on the rise, and Omahans are ready to enjoy the fun again. Creighton basketball ended with a second-round loss in March Madness. Husker football is still 4 months away. The good news is the best college baseball team in the state resides here in O-Town. Omaha World Herald sports editor and UNO professor Andrew Stem is optimistic about the future of Mavericks baseball and the new ballpark.
It's not the crown jewel, right? That would be Charles Schwab Field, but it's now the next best field in the city. And, it certainly gives UNO a place where they can, call home and feel like it's their own. Before they were kind of rotating, they'd play at Seymour Smith Park or Millard West or kind of whatever fields were available, and now they don't have to feel like vagabonds anymore. They have a specific home, and it's, a place that the community can come and check out and see a really nice college field.
Omaha citizens are beginning to feel the sense of normalcy again. UNO baseball is on the rise along with its fandom. Local media outlets have begun to take notice.
I feel like the city's synonymous with college baseball, right? Like, it's hosted this College World Series every year since 1950. So, when you think of college baseball, you think of Omaha, and just to have another team in town do well, the product that Omaha has put out there here the last few years, and making the NCAA tournament and winning the Summit League title, and it's just a new place to gather and to bring people together. And the university has a lot of alums in town. And, now they have kind of a place to gather and watch their team play. And, I think that the results, at least in terms of games against each other, have kind of borne out that, UNO is the best team in the city.
Call it right place, right time. Call it luck. Tom and Andrew agree. The greatest show on artificial turf is right here on our own backyard.
Our best team in the state, rather, taking 2 of 3 from Nebraska, and they beat Creighton. So, it's just good for a chance, and it gives people a reason to gather together again.
For MavRadio, I'm James Maximilian Garvey.
You heard that right. Omaha is currently the best college baseball team in the state of Nebraska. The Mavericks return home Tuesday, May 3rd against the Kansas Jayhawks and have 8 home games remaining. Tal Anderson Field will be the site of at least 8 of those 9 games.
Max Garvey joins us live. Max, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful, man. We got blessed with some great weather out here today.
Yeah, some great weather, and happy Earth Day to you, Max. Are you enjoying it so far?
I'm sorry?
Are you enjoying Earth Day so far, Max?
Very good, yeah.
Great. Well, what is the atmosphere like at the new place, Tal Anderson Field?
You know, with the new ballpark out here, fan support has been really good. A lot of family come out, and, students can come out here. Anybody who is of legal drinking age, fans or students, can enjoy an adult beverage. They have all the ballpark goodies and snacks, and just a really good atmosphere out here.
Yeah, and with the weather coming around, it sounds like a great environment. What would you tell the locals who are interested in attending a game?
Just get out here. The tickets are very affordable for both students and fans alike. And, the team is doing much better. 2019 NCAA tournament appearance, about 3 or 4 conference titles.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Max, and happy Earth Day to you.
This Earth Day, reduce, reuse.
And remember that climate change is not your fault. It's the fault of short-sighted, self-serving corporations who are bringing about a new era of famine, disease, war, and death.
Enjoy Earth Day 2022 at your favorite college radio station.
All right, up next we have Dee Warren taking us through the progress of reparations in California as he dives deep into his own ancestry after the break. Happy Earth Day from MavRadio.fm.
This is Anna, Avery, and Alexa, the founders of the Women in Media Club here at UNO. Join the new wave of female broadcasters from radio to TV. We have something for you at the Women in Media Club, the first of its kind on any Nebraska campus.
Not to mention monthly speakers like ESPN's Mina Kimes and Laura Rutledge.
Join the Women in Media Club today. Follow us at Women in Media UNO for updates and info on how to join.
For that well-deserved study break. You're listening to MavRadio.fm. Shh. Power with.
Look, bro, what are you doing? And why aren't you tuned into Mav Radio? Didn't I tell you that it's Omaha's #1 college radio station? Plus, it's a place for anybody interested in the latest news, sporting events, and music. MavRadio.fm. Tap in. The idea of reparations for foundationally black Americans, meaning descendants of those enslaved in North America, or the freedmen, has long been debated in this country. To be clear, according to the Oklahoma Historical Society, descendants of slaves in America, or the freedmen, were formerly enslaved black people after the Civil War, who may have also spoke tribal native languages and may have had native ancestry due to enslavement in Indian Territory under the 5 civilized tribes, aka the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Creek, Choctaw, and Seminole tribes. The premise of the idea for reparations rests upon the basis of making amends for any wrong that has been done to an individual or group of people. Reparations can come in many forms, such as economic enrichment through financial payment, restorative justice, or the expansion of social programs.
There have been reparations for other marginalized groups in this country. They've received some sort of compensation, and African Americans have not. I feel like it would only be right if we're all really talking about being equal and fair across the board.
In this case, economic reparations for foundationally black Americans would help to close the giant wealth gap between foundationally black Americans and white Americans. In fact, the United States government has paid out reparations to numerous groups in the past. For example, after World War II, the U.S. government supported Jewish victims of the Holocaust, and West Germany agreed to give those victims the state of Israel, which we know today. That was also accompanied by economic payout, also known as the Luxembourg Agreement. In addition, During World War II, the U.S. government also imprisoned 120,000 Japanese Americans in internment camps, which, according to the Washington Post, resulted in about a $6.4 billion income loss by today's standards. Survivors and descendants were granted financial reparations by the government on 2 separate occasions, once in 1948 as per the Japanese American Evacuation Claims Act, and again in 1988 through the Civil Liberties Act.
Understood. Their job was recognized.
Right.
Our job as slaves was not recognized at all. And we were told, actually, oh, we're going to give you this. Oh, no, we got nothing. We got nothing but grief.
And I guess that leads me to our next question, because we look at the way our communities look today. It's interesting because this story started as something on potholes. I was actually going at
potholes. That's amazing. Huh?
It's why are the roads so bad?
They're
and
bad
primarily
because nobody's fixing them.
Many of our metropolitan cities today speak to America's turbulent history in relationship with foundationally Black Americans. Omaha, Nebraska is no exception to this history. In fact, according to an article titled A History of Redlining in Omaha by Omaha native and author Adam Fletcher Sass, Omaha remains one of the most racially segregated cities in the United States today through a history of gerrymandering and redlining, despite the practice being made illegal in the 1960s. For clarification, redlining is the practice of lenders, insurers, landlords, and real estate agents steering foundationally Black Americans or others towards specific parts of a city that are segregated formally or informally. Furthermore, gerrymandering is the act of manipulating political boundaries or voting districts as a means to influence votes. According to data recorded from the 2019 Survey of Consumer Finances, white families have the highest level of both median and mean family wealth and have 8 times the wealth of the typical Black family. The basis for this wealth gap is primarily slavery, which was followed by a century of domestic terrorism under Jim Crow, accompanied by economic deprivation. The fact of the matter is, you cannot have the kind of wealth this country has accumulated in modern times without an immense labor force spanning multiple centuries. According to MarketWatch, they've managed to calculate a ballpark estimate based off the value assigned to slave bodies from 1800 to 1860, which totaled out to $16 trillion, which is about 3/4 of the U.S. gross domestic product. Since foundationally Black Americans, or descendants of the freedmen, are still at social and economic risk today with the state of policing, housing, and the pandemic, reparations would aim to pay financial restitution to individuals who are descendants as a means to help address the economic wealth gap created by slavery in the following century of domestic terrorism through government-sanctioned Jim Crow. In addition, this would also help enrich foundationally Black American communities that were subject to economic deprivation through the early 20th century and would help create wealth for future generations within those communities. Furthermore, in recent news, this discussion of reparations has been gaining traction in other states such as California. According to ABC 10 Sacramento News, our first in the nation 9-member task force was created under Assembly Bill 3121 and has been meeting nearly monthly since June of 2021. And the members have been tasked with studying slavery and its impact on the lives of foundationally Black Americans, and then deciding actions for reparations. The members are tasked with releasing a 2-part report, with the first being released this June in hopes of sparking serious discussions across the nation. Politically, California typically sets the tone for the rest of the United States, and with any luck, this may gain traction in other states, including Nebraska. Essentially, this could become one of the biggest transfers of wealth we have seen in modern times, but only time will tell. I guess my final question to you is, where do you see the economic state of Black people you know as Black or free descendants of freedmen? Where do you see the economic state of Black people in the next 50 years?
Well, I think we're gonna make a magnificent jump. It's gonna be like a leap that no one expected. I think we're gonna do very well. I'm really going with the half empty, half full, the scenario. But I really think that we're going to do something amazing. And that amazing thing is getting what's coming to us.
This is D. Warren at MavRadio on Earth Day.
A reparations proposal is due by July 2023 for the legislature to consider turning into law in California.
Dee Warren joins us live right now. Hey Dee, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. How's it going?
Good. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
So Dee, what would reparations look like to you?
Economic payments. It would have to be a lot. We're talking at least $1 million per household if they're able to prove each individual's or the families, if they're able to prove their ancestry, basically linking them back to the 1900 or 1910 census.
Awesome. So who exactly would be eligible for these reparations?
So basically foundational Black Americans. Essentially, you would have to have one ancestor that was enslaved during that time. Word of mouth, there's a lot of Twitter spaces. They have Twitter spaces for people. We've been talking about this. It's actually been an ongoing discussion for some time, but it's recently just gained traction in the last year or so.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Now that I think about it, I'm probably getting a bit over my head. Coming out to the jungle when all I need is a cool liner? You're listening to Earth Day 2022 on MavRadio.
Welcome back to MavRadio's 10th annual Earth Day special. Our next story has to do with reporter Alston Ulmer. America has had an addiction problem for decades. According to a study done by the Recovery Research Institute, more than half of the adults in this country have a family history of alcoholism or have a drinking problem. But reporter Alston Ulmer says it's not just about statistics.
During the Prohibition era, alcohol consumption per capita was at its lowest levels in U.S. history. Since the 1960s, the numbers have been steadily rising, but there is a life after addiction, recovery, that oftentimes we don't hear about.
Not in the sense of being selfish. I did that for myself. I was able to take myself out of my own problems.
That's Max Garvey, a student at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Since March 2020, recovery is a reality for Max. Max struggled with alcoholism in his 20s while he led a typical American adult life.
So my life before I went to treatment was very busy. I had very little downtime. I became very reclusive, whereas when I was younger, in my late teens and early 20s, I was very sociable.
Max was working full-time while also going to school. He says juggling both was overwhelming and led him to an unhealthy relationship with alcohol.
When I did have downtime, or even, in the midst of all that, I made some pretty bad choices as far as drinking, which in my past, even, before even leading up to that, had led me to some legal trouble. I had gotten a DUI when I was 25, and then I believe I went to treatment right after I turned 28.
Max got the help he needed. For people like Max that made it out of their addictions, recovery can be a life-changing experience.
Addiction being a disease of isolation and chaos, recovery gives me that chance to get back to being connected with not only the people around me, but my community in general.
That's Mark Frillman, and after 39 years, he is still in recovery. In fact, he's made it his mission to help others in their journey. He is a drug and alcohol counselor at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Mark dedicates his life to helping those struggling with addiction. He sponsors people in recovery, takes them to meetings, or just out to talk if needed. On campus, he started a program called the UNO Recovery Community. He says helping other people also aids his recovery.
You can't really, I don't think, forget what it's like to hit that moment of crisis. And one of the ways that I keep it fresh in my mind is staying in contact with people who are in that spot.
Mark says there is a statistic to really emphasize the problem of addiction in almost any community.
In pretty much any community, about 10% of the crowd that drinks alcohol will develop an addiction.
He says, though it is not a very high percentage, it is a lot of people.
So if you think about a community like Omaha, which is roughly 500,000 people, we're talking about 40,000 alcoholics walking around.
Mark says this statistic is very eye-opening. He also says the other statistical information available is
probably somewhere between 90 and 95% of those people are going to die as a direct result of their addiction. So those of us who reach recovery, we're a very small percentage of the alcoholic population.
This is the sad reality that lingers with addiction. Addicts cannot get the help they need. He says many people never get the chance to experience recovery. There is a limited number of treatment centers in the country, and beyond that, a limited number of beds in the facilities that do exist. It's not all bleak news for those struggling with addiction. Many communities have counseling available for addicts and for students with addiction. Resources can be found on campus. He offers some advice for those thinking about seeking counseling for their addictions.
What I try to let them know is that maybe what you think about it is not entirely accurate. And, so if you're thinking about it, first of all, good for you. Go try it, because you might be really pleasantly surprised.
For those who are able to make it out of their addictions, however, the feeling can be undescribable. I know this firsthand as I have been in recovery for just over 6 years. The satisfaction with waking up each day sober cannot be measured. The amount of gratitude, happiness, and vigor in life is nearly euphoric. Max and Mark share this sentiment. Mark says what the best thing about being in recovery is
continuing to have all of those solutions to life's everyday problems, life's everyday issues, physical, mental, social, spiritual, relational. Yeah.
Max agrees.
Knowing that it's not a one-man battle, it doesn't have to be. We all have our personal struggles, but there's a whole community of people out there that are willing to listen, and that's the first step. Beginning to understand not only yourself, but then how you can, develop a plan for your life going forward.
One thing is certain. There really is no feeling like being in recovery. If someone out there is struggling, there are people that will talk to you that have gone through the same things. And in turn, they are not just aiding your recovery, but theirs as well. For MavRadio.fm, I'm Austin Ulmer.
8.3% of the U.S. population is in recovery from alcohol. That's 20.5 million adults living in recovery in this country. A study by the Recovery Research Institute found. This goes to show that there can be life after addiction.
Reporter Austin Ulmer joins us now live from the studio. And Austin, how did the pandemic affect those in recovery?
Well, addiction is plays a big part with isolation, so it definitely didn't help numbers. Lots of people that were in recovery already maybe stopped going to meetings. I did talk to Mr. Frillman about that, and he said a lot of people stopped staying in touch with their program they worked, whether it was AA, NA, things like that, and some people just plain and simple relapsed, from being in isolation or quarantine from so long.
Did the pandemic bring up numbers of those struggling with addiction?
Yeah, most definitely. We saw a definite spike. He was still waiting to get the exact statistics from that as the pandemic is kind of winding down now, but definitely he's expecting to get a big spike in numbers of more people being addicted to certain substances.
Could you see a difference in those you interviewed on how they carried themselves?
Oh, yeah, there's a different kind of confidence level almost of those in recovery, just the way they handle themselves, more of a positive attitude mostly, and just kind of a different air about them almost.
What are some ways for those who think they might have a problem to seek help?
Yeah, Mark offered a lot of advice about this. Almost any community has counseling available, different kinds of drug and alcohol counselors, substance abuse counselors. And for treatment after that, usually those counselors will refer you to where you need to go if you needed to get some kind of inpatient, outpatient help, anything like that.
How has recovery changed life for you?
Tenfold. My life is so much better than it was when I was actively in addiction. It's undescribable, really. I wake up happy every day.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, Austin.
Yeah, thank you.
The 10th annual Earth Day special comes to a close after the reporters of MavRadio shared their stories and what it means to them as Earth Day. What a special day it is, Earth Day. Get out there, enjoy the weather. Unless it's thunderstorming, do what you have to do to enjoy Earth Day. Thank you so much for all the listeners out there. We're going to do a rundown with the anchors here. What in the world did you think about the stories and the impact that the Earth has to make all these stories occur?
Yeah, absolutely. Every story I listened to today, I learned something new, and that's kind of the outcome I wanted to walk away with today, is just learn more about our Earth, learn more about what these reporters are passionate about, and that's exactly what happened. Learned a lot of really cool content and listened to a lot of great stories, and it was a day well spent so far.
Like you said, Jack, I learned a lot today. I learned a lot about the beautiful things that come from this earth and just how wonderful and amazing all the opportunities it creates are.
And there we have it from the anchors and from the MavRadio studio. Your hosts Nathan Sweats, Jack McGonigal, and Jaden Cates say thank you and enjoy Earth Day 2022 from MavRadio.fm.